welcome back to the channel. This is the Darklight Emissary, and today's video is just going to be me briefly talking about the Ghoul Stars region of Warhammer 40k. This region of space is fascinating to me because it offers some of the most mystery and horror potential in the entire Warhammer 40k setting, at least as far as real space is concerned, without going into the madness of the warp and the Eye of Terror and all the stuff that ensues there. And in fact, there has been some horror stuff centered around exactly that plenty of times in the past. You can see plenty of examples of that in memes with Dead Sky Black Sun's infamous Demonic Lava, and I probably mispronounced that, but I'm not going to go look it up. That thing's a nightmare. There's plenty of nightmares in Warhammer 40k, but what I love about the Ghoul Stars is that we don't know too much about them. It seems like for a combination of reasons. Number one, it is far from the light of the Astronomicon, meaning that to reach there, navigators that pilot the ships can't really get there very easily. They can't see the light from the Astronomicon except for in a very dim way, and it makes the pathways hazardous to get out there, and I would imagine it means you could probably get stranded out there until such time as like an errant warp storm goes away finally, or whatever is blocking the faint light of the Astronomicon at that distance. But you think about how far away that must be for as powerful of a light as the Astronomicon to not really pierce there. We know how powerful the Emperor is, and if his light is that faint to reach out there as a navigating beacon, then it is really out there. And so we have one of the most isolated areas of space just to begin with, and then what we know lies there is already nightmarish. And one of the main threats out in the Ghoul Stars is the Necrons, but not just any Necrons. If you ever played the original Dawn of War games, specifically Dark Crusade, where they introduced the Necrons as a playable faction, we got access to a lovely unit known as the Flayed Ones. These are Necrons that basically are overcome by a madness that makes them obsessed with trying to wear the skins of their enemies, their victims. They will drape themselves in, like flayed bits of skin, basically, and their hands are basically just giant serrated blades, their fingers. In that game, they were a slightly tanky unit. I don't know if that would actually be true for real with them, but regardless, they are nightmare fuel as far as something you would not want to see shambling towards you. They kind of lean into kind of a undead, ghoulish style, despite being ancient, high-tech machines inhabiting the souls of a ancient race, which I kind of like that juxtaposition between kind of like your traditional zombie trope and some kind of high-tech variety of that versus just your generic zombie we've seen for the last decade plus exhaustively. And so that is the most noble threat that we see from the Ghoul Stars. The most prominent, noticeable threat is probably the Necrons. However, they seem to mostly keep to themselves out in that area of space, occasionally leaving their world to go pillage others for fresh flesh, but other than that, they don't seem to be a major threat. However, one of the more esoteric threats that came out of the Ghoul Stars was known as the Pale Wasting, and it's not really exactly elaborated on, other than a Space Marine chapter helped fight against it in a campaign they have no record of. That is the Nova Marines chapter of Space Marines. And they apparently should count themselves lucky because, looking into this further, they were one of 11 chapters that fought the Pale Wasting. And apparently, actually, maybe they were the 12th, because it all it says is that 11 Space Marine chapters are dead, destroyed, or obliterated fighting against this. And the Inquisition isolated and purged all records of what this was. And the only quotes used to describe it are that it was a star spawn plague that swept across worlds with something described as nightmare engines. So who knows what this, assuming Xenos threat was. It has some vibes similar to the Rangdan Xenocides during the Great Crusade era. It makes me wonder if it's like a resurgence of that to some degree, or like some vestige of that, and it would make sense that the future Imperium, with its, compartmentalization and outright obliteration of knowledge at times to erase things from the past that they want to ignore, wouldn't be able to recognize it as something that, the Great Crusade era Imperium once fought against to some degree. And, related to this, I guess, theory would be that as part of the Rangdan Xenocide stuff, there was the sloth race of Xenos who are basically their nightmare fuel of their own accord. I don't know, I haven't seen really mention of them being in the Ghoul Stars, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were. I think they're more on the Halo Star side, which is like kind of the mirror of the Ghoul Stars, another fringe area of space. But the sloth could definitely be described as something like pale wasting and using what I would certainly describe as nightmare engines to do their bidding. Amalgamations of like flesh and machine is kind of their whole thing. They're like very biomechanical, kind of. If you've ever seen the game Scorn, they're kind of like that. They're very slimy is the word for them. Very gross looking is that species, and horrible in their own way. But I digress. Point being, whatever the pale wasting was, it was, destructive enough to kill 11,000 Space Marines, and the 1,000 that survived don't even have a record of having been there. It's just like, I guess, in some kind of esoteric record keeping elsewhere, which is interesting. So, if anyone knows, it's the Inquisition, and they are not known for talking about such things. Now, one thing I did not know about this region of space, which I find personally fascinating, because one, I didn't know it, and I've been reading this stuff a long time, and two, it might explain a few things. Nostromo, the homeworld of the Night Lords, and where Conrad Kurtz grew up, is on the border of the Ghoul Stars. So it was a very distant, isolated world itself, out there near this area of space, which is just known for its kind of strange influence on things. So I wonder if part of that has anything to do with how the Night Lords kind of ended up. And I do wonder if any parts of the Night Lords war bands reside in the Ghoul Stars on the Dead Worlds there. I wonder if any of them are out there. It would make sense with how isolated it is. Easy to hide out there, I imagine, from the Imperium and anyone else you don't want to be seen by. Perhaps one of the most interesting things about the Ghoul Stars, another thing I was unaware of, is that it is home to a renegade Space Marine group known as the Ashen Claws. This group is a exiled portion of the original Raven Guard Legion, and apparently it was a 13 capital ship fleet that was sent out, and 4,000 Marines were sent as exile. I don't know if it was 4,000 Marines. It says 4,000 survivors of this chapter, or not chapter, of the Legion. And I'm imagining that's human crew and people that Corax didn't agree with. They were all exiled. And apparently they set up shop in the Ghoul Stars. So they rule some kind of smaller empire out in the Ghoul Stars. And apparently some of the Marines still wear on their armor what's known as the Raptor Imperialis. That indicates they were veterans of the Unification Wars, which, if true, means that some of these Marines could be some of the oldest Space Marines that are not of Chaos origins still existing, unless these are descendants just wearing the same heraldry as their predecessors. But I think it's left kind of up to conjecture there. Not much else is known about them. They also have one of the oldest ships I've heard of, the Wicked Claw, an Infernus-class battleship that dates back to the Great Crusade era. So that's one of the oldest ships also, not of Chaos Origins. So we have this unknown, fleet size, or not fleet size, number of Space Marines out there. Who knows how many they have out there, and they seem to be ruling a small empire of, imperial styled worlds of some degree, but they're like their own independent thing, and they're a pirate group that is not part of the Maelstrom, not a Red Corsair type situation, and they seemingly haven't fallen to chaos either. So I wonder if they also have some of the cultural aspects of a legion versus, the chapter mentality, because they certainly never, followed the Codex Astartes. They were never part of the Imperium, really. They're their own thing. However, that being said, they seem to be sort of, friendly with some other loyalists, like the Carcharodon, my voice there, the Carcharodon's chapter of Space Marines. Those Marines apparently trade with them, and also, are out in the Ghoul Stars occasionally. It seems like this place is a place for exiles and like the lesser known chapters of the Imperium. Now along with these is also another unique chapter, another unique group of Space Marines known as the Death Specters. The Death Specters were given charge to watch over the Ghoul Stars and to keep any threats from threatening the greater Imperium from it. The Death Specters probably deserve their own little video about, and like in a group of esoteric chapters. I was reading up on them, and one of the weirdest things about the Death Specters is when they were founded, their original chapter master was given a vision at the throne, at the foot of the Golden Throne by the Emperor, to go to where they eventually founded their chapter monastery. And at the base, in the basement, in like the foundations of their monastery, is a throne. And this throne, their chief librarian sits upon it when the next one dies, and over time they petrify into stone. And it's not known what it does. My guess is it's some kind of ancient relation to the Golden Throne, and maybe the Emperor's using the power from them to outsource some of the insane costs he has, to expend sitting upon the throne of his own power. That's complete theory and conjecture by me, but interestingly enough, they have that thing as part of their nature, and then they're charged upon, watching one of the most mysterious areas of space, which I just find interesting with them. And then, along with these ones, we have the Death Watch has its own station out there as well. So the Death Watch also watches over the Ghoul Stars, which is unsurprising given all the Xenostars out there. And so there's just a lot of interesting stuff out here that, like, all of this is very fascinating to me. Like, these groups are all very mysterious and kind of unique for both Space Marines as well as just, alien threats and things out there. One of the other interesting things I learned about the Ghoul Stars out here is that the Tyranids seem to not necessarily be avoiding it, but what splinter of Tyranids did go through the Ghoul Stars was described as being twisted and disoriented by journeying through it. It doesn't necessarily mention what that twisting means. Like, how are they twisted? Are they mutated? Are they, otherwise different from other Tyranid fleets? We're not sure. But when they started attacking Imperial World, they were known to have come from there, and they seemed changed by whatever they were doing in the Ghoul Stars. And so I'm wondering if the Ghoul Stars are acting as some sort of place that even the Tyranids kind of just know to generally avoid and don't want to deal with at this time. And then really the final thing about the Ghoul Stars is that apparently the Black Templar have sent crusades in there before and fought some different xenospecies. Helbracht himself led a crusade to fight a specific Xenos threat, and they pushed back this Xenos threat and went to where they thought this alien species' homeworld, core worlds were. And when they went there, they just found empty worlds, just dead worlds. And they didn't really have too much time to investigate why that was the case, or where this threat, I guess, actually came from, because they were then called to Armageddon at that time. So, most famously known for Armageddon as one of the main conflicts that they were a part of. So, and then a different Black Templar crusade also went into the Ghoul Stars and promptly disappeared. And, it's rumored that they're still out there just fighting in isolation, which, would be very unsurprising for the Black Templar. The Black Templar are probably one of the most independent and robust loyalist imperial forces amongst the Space Marines to exist, in my opinion. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to, you go out there on an expedition and you just find a bunch of really gnarly, chewed up, very scuffed, maybe nearly unpainted Black Templars, and there's, with their tabards over their armor, just out there, just fighting still. It wouldn't surprise me, fighting with just swords because they lost ammo from their bolters ages ago. Would not surprise me one bit if the Black Templar were doing that sort of thing out there. And so that is really kind of it for a general overview of the Ghoul Stars. A very interesting place with, I think, a lot of story potential. There hasn't really been novels that I've seen that really delve into the Ghoul Stars. I think you could lean really hard into a horror element to some of the books you could do in this area, different eras of the Ghoul Stars, I should say. I would like to see some stuff here. I would like to see, some very horror-centric stuff. Like playing with some of the unique species out here. Even adding some unique species that we don't know about out here. One-off novels with one-off, super interesting situations. It would be really cool to see out here. It's one of those untapped corners of Warhammer in the setting that I would like to see explored one day. We got a little bit of that with the Halo Stars, with the Priests of Mars trilogy of books, where there was a mechanics expedition going out to the Halo Stars. But I think the Halo Stars might even have less of a presence with the Imperium than the Ghoul Stars do. The Ghoul Stars have a couple of Imperial colonies, but it is very light out there as well. And it would just be I would love to see some stuff out there. So that's really it for this. If you have any questions and comments on this, I would love to talk with you in the comments. The last video on the Alpha Legion has done all right, and I loved talking to you guys in the comments there. Thanks for engaging and discussing with me there. I really like being able to do that with you guys. And so, as always, I will see you in the next video. Please like and subscribe to hear more from us here on this channel. And have a great day or night wherever you are. See you soon. Thank you.